If you grew up with a Game Boy Advance in your hands, chances are Pokemon Emerald was one of the defining games of your childhood. From choosing your first partner Pokemon to conquering the battle frontier, this adventure left a lasting mark on an entire generation of trainers. Let's revisit the game that many fans still consider the peak of classic Pokemon. So now I'm gonna show the intro to the game, and I'm skipping this introduction video to the game before showing the intro text. And if you want to see the intro video, you can use the link in the video description. So I won't necessarily be talking during all of the text scenes. I'll just be talking during the text scenes when there's something notable to say. So this first text scene just sets up the scenario for the game. And you get to choose whether you're a boy or a girl. And there isn't too much difference between picking the boy or the girl, except when you pick the boy, you'll have the girl rival, and when you pick the girl, you'll have the boy rival. And the boy rival has less dialogue than the girl rival and has different dialogue. And this affects the speed run, so it's quicker to pick the girl for a speed run than it is the boy. And also, the boy in the third rival fight has a different order of Pokemon, so it makes the rival fight easier in a speed run. And also, when you pick one of the starter Pokemon, the free Pokemon you pick from the beginning of the game, the rival have different Pokemon depending on the gender. And I think it's when you pick Torchic, the girl rival have different Pokemon than the boy rival on the second battle. But otherwise, it pretty much remains the same. And also, the beginning house you start in will be different as well. And soon I'm going to be adjusting the clock for the game. Now I am playing this on the Retron 5, so I don't have to worry about the battery dying out, and not being able to have the in-game clock be saved. But the in-game clock, there's no day and night in this game like in many other Pokemon games. The only thing the in-game clock affects is the berries. You can pick berries in this game that have different effects, and when you plant a berry and wait a while in-game, after a certain amount of time with the in-game timer using the in-game clock, the berries will grow again, and this is used using the in-game battery. And if the in-game battery dies, then you won't be able to use the in-game timer anymore, though you can still save the game. Unlike in games on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, where you won't be able to save if the in-game battery is drained. And if you want to, you can check your PC and get a potion, but I just go ahead and not use it and wait until getting to Odale Town in order to buy potions and use them instead. Because I don't need a lot of potions throughout this game. Because the thing about potions is that they're not useful for very long in the game, because they only heal 20 HP. And you can get a good amount of HP really quickly. So after a short while, 20 HP won't be a lot of HP to heal at all. So pretty soon, potions will be outclassed by super potions, which you'll be able to get pretty early on in the game as well, though not for the beginning of the game. So here we meet May, and if you picked May, you'll meet Brendan. And pretty soon I'm going to be picking the first Pokemon. And I've used all 3 of the starter Pokemon in this game. And they all, I think, have their own strengths and weaknesses. There is no one I think is outright bad. And went through a good amount of thought in order to pick the starter Pokemon. I considered all 3 of them, but I decided to go ahead and go with Trico. And I felt like Trico is one where I really need a grass type with a good grass type move. That wasn't the low power point move Giga Drain, or trying to get a high power move Hidden Power Grass, which is rather difficult to do. Essentially, it's random if you get a high power, if you get the highest power Hidden Power Grass or not. And Giga Drain isn't as strong as Leaf Blade either, which I'm going to be getting for Trico when it evolves into Sceptile, or rather Growfile, because it gets Leaf Blade before evolving into Sceptile. And here I have my Trico, and I went ahead and took a little bit to get a good nature for it. And nature affects the stat of Pokemon. The stats of the Pokemon. And the natures, they'll have a 10% increase on one stat, and a 10% decrease on another stat. And there are also what are called neutral natures, which have an increase and decrease on the same stat, which means they don't have an effect on the stat at all. And it didn't take me very long to get a calm nature, so I just went ahead and stuck with the calm nature, and then try to go for a better nature that didn't decrease speed. Because Trico is already plenty fast anyway, even with a decreased speed nature. Sceptile has a high speed stat. It has a base speed of 120, which is pretty fast, and even with a decrease in it, it's still pretty fast, I think. So the increase in special attack is going to help a lot, I think. Because Leaf Blade isn't a super strong move, I think. Being only 70 base power. Although it does have a high chance of getting a critical hit. And critical hits mean that your attack does twice as much damage, I think. And critical hits happen randomly, but there are certain moves that have a higher chance of having a critical hit than normal. And here I have the first wild Pokemon encounter, and I'm going to be editing out the rest of these to make the video shorter. So the video series won't be too long. Though it'll still be a pretty lengthy video series. It just won't take as long, and there won't be as much slow segments. I'll only be showing wild Pokemon encounters when I catch the Pokemon. So pretty soon I'm gonna go into the Pokemon and buy some items. And you can buy antidotes and paralyzed heals and awakenings. And with antidotes, they heal poison. And poison deals damage during battle and outside of battle and can faint your Pokemon in these early games. And there's also Paralyze Heal, which removes paralysis on your Pokemon. And what paralysis does is it halves the Pokemon's speed and makes it so it has a 25% chance of not being able to use a move. And Awakenings, what they do is that they remove sleep on a Pokemon. And I only have money to buy one of them, but I don't think that's a problem because sleep isn't that common of a condition. And what sleep does is it prevents your Pokemon from using a move for a random amount of turns. I forget exactly what the variant is, but it's not as much as in older games. And also, it's not like in Red, Blue, and Yellow where your Pokemon has to take a turn to wake up. And when it wakes up, it has a chance of being able to be put to sleep again immediately afterwards, because it has to take a turn to wake up instead of being able to use a move right away like in later games. And sleep moves are inaccurate, but this could be a problem pretty quickly. In the old Gen 1 games, that's what they're called. Red, Blue, and Yellow. But in later games, they fixed that problem. And here my Trico just went to level 6 and learned Absorb, which is a 20 power grass type move, which can be helpful in that it gives you back health, but it's rather weak. Although Trico does have better special attack than attack, especially because Trico has a special attack boosting nature. But Absorb isn't going to be helping me against this Torchic, because this Torchic is a fire type and resists grass type moves. So I'll have to use Pound, which is a normal type move, which does neutral damage against fire types. And this will probably be the first time where types come into play. And I use Leer once to lower the Torchic's defense because my Pound isn't doing much damage right off the bat. And I just go ahead and use Leer once to attack of Pound in order to end the battle quickly. And that's really the main thing you want to do, is try to end the battle quickly and use status moves only when you need to. And You may need to use a potion if the opponent gets a critical hit, does more damage than normal, but otherwise you should be able to get by this battle pretty easily without using a potion, I think. In general, this battle isn't too hard, but there are some times where your rival may get a critical hit, and this can prove to be a problem. But if you need the extra level, you may have to battle an extra wild Pokemon or two. But getting to level 6 with your starter Pokemon is pretty easy in the early game. Or rather, getting to level 6 is pretty easy with your starter Pokemon, so you only really should have to battle 1 or 2 more Pokemon, or even just 1 more Pokemon in order to get it to level 6, in order to have a good advantage of the rival battle, because your rival's Pokemon is level 5. And soon we're going to be getting some Pokeballs, and Pokeballs allow you to catch Pokemon, and it really is random whether you catch a Pokemon or not, but you can increase the chances by weakening a Pokemon or use a stats condition on it. And the recommended stats conditions to use on them are Paralyze, Sleep, and if you get lucky, Freeze. There's no move that freezes a Pokemon by default, but there are moves that paralyze a Pokemon or put a Pokemon to sleep. The best one to go for is Sleep, because that has the highest chances of catching a Pokemon. Though if you don't have Sleep, then Paralysis is also good as well, though it isn't quite as good as Sleep. But on the other hand, Paralysis, Thunderwave has 100% accuracy, whereas the Sleep moves don't have 100% accuracy except for the rare Spore. So here I get the running shoes, which were introduced in Ruby and Sapphire, the original versions of Pokemon Emerald. In the next video I'll begin exploring Route 1 or 2. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more Pokemon videos, be sure to subscribe, and let me know which starter did you choose when you played this game. This is Isaac, and I'll see you later.